morning on Saturday. I guess it's afternoon on Saturday. I hope everyone is doing all right today. Let's do the news. I woke up this morning, had a bit of energy. I think it's probably because I slept. And I got the opportunity to watch a video that people had been sending me. Several of my subscribers sent me this video saying, dude, you have to check this video out. You have to check this video out. Finally got the opportunity to watch the entirety of the video. And they were right. I should have watched this video sooner. They say the video was deleted. I don't know if it was deleted or not. Maybe not. It's possible. If it was, I can kind of see why. Especially with this policy the Democrats are going with of, not really hitting the other person. But the video is a surprisingly scorching speech. The biggest critique that I've had of Tulsi Gabbard is that she is infinitely calm. Like just placid demeanor. Extraordinarily rational when you're talking to her. The problem with that is, there are times where calm is not necessarily the perspective to take. And especially when you have a situation of people who are in difficulties, and those people feel that those difficulties are in some way associated with the system to which they function in. And they feel that that system is entirely unfair. Calm is not necessarily the perspective that they take on this issue. I've met these people. Calm is not the perspective that they take on this issue. And oftentimes people look for things to hook themselves into in order to understand. Meaning, this placid demeanor is not necessarily something the people who have been aggrieved by a particular system and know that that system is corrupt can latch into. Sometimes it takes a little bit more oomph. People want to know that you actually mean it when you get up in the morning, that you feel it. Now, you can get up in the morning and feel it in this kind of Zen state, but people don't get that, if that makes sense. This speech was surprisingly honest. Somewhat scorching, because she acknowledges, the Democrats are trying to hit me in the knees. Meaning, even though we're supposed to have this campaign of not really attacking, most of the attacks that I've been receiving have been from Democrats and from mainstream media. This is a really good speech. Now, here's the other point. It would not surprise me in the least if the person who's asking Tulsi Gabbard this question was planted. Wouldn't surprise me one iota. In fact, if she wasn't planted, she should have been planted. Yeah, that's where I'm at. Let's take a look at this. But however, this turned out really good. This is a young woman asking Tulsi Gabbard a question. She's from Afghanistan. She's talking about her family. And this gets into the kind of real world outcomes of U.S. foreign policy.
War. Thank you for bringing up the fact that Yemen is paying for what is going on in between the Saudi and the U.S. And I, as an Afghan American, have seen the effect of war. The Cold War that started in the 70s and 80s in between the Soviets and America, Afghans are still paying for it. All that being said, when you are talking about the fact that you are against war and you are against our foreign policies, I get very excited and I get very hopeful and I get tearful. But I also feel very hopeless. Why I feel hopeless? Because our system, our foreign policy is built in a way that we thrive when other people fail in the other part of the world. We had Bernie Sanders and we all were so excited that maybe he will bring a change. But his own party stopped him from doing that.
Like, this is what I mean when I say if she wasn't planted, God, she should have been. Because she goes down a list of pretty fascinating fucking things that you don't necessarily get to hear in mainstream media. Like, she starts off talking about the United States, this kind of war games that the United States was playing with the Soviet Union. If you remember, the United States, we find out later on, nobody knew at the time, but we were instigating, we were putting resources into anti-Soviet forces in Afghanistan. When the Soviets intervened in this, the world just kind of turned around and pointed at the Soviets saying, oh my God, these guys are intervening in Afghanistan. We did turn around and assisted in making that situation their Vietnam. Now, mind you, this is us playing war games with real human beings, radicalizing elements in this place so they can fight harder against the Soviets. Her point is, we're still paying for that. And not just her is still paying for it. If you think about it, this Mujahideen eventually turns into Al-Qaeda. Like, it's not just they are still paying for it. The world, to some degree, is still paying for it. The entire region is still paying for it. Most of the people who these guys are killing are Muslims. They were playing war games with real human beings, with real world outcomes that spilled over out of just this kind of pocket of Afghanistan in the other parts of the region. And then she hits the Bernie Sanders thing. She was like, I feel hopeless. We wanted Bernie Sanders, and then they cheated Bernie Sanders. I love this. Let's keep going. I don't know who this woman is. Like I said, I don't know if she's planted, but if she wasn't, shame on Tulsi for not planning her.
Tulsi, I'm all for you. And I hope that I'm going to stand on those polls and vote for you in 2020, hoping that you will.
I'm running for president.
I'm moving this forward because I don't want to show the entirety of this person's video. I mean, I know it's been re-uploaded, but still, I'll put the entirety of the video at the bottom. The part that I want to get to is a little bit fast forwarded when she comes back to the mic. She gives the woman a hug. She comes back to the mic and she, it's funny. I have the voice of my wife in my head saying, you would fast forward past the part where she's getting a hug. Yeah, I will fast forward past that because it doesn't really have anything to do with the point of this video. All right, so let's.
It's not.
She makes a point. Look, she says, what you just said, everything that you've just said, is exactly why I am running for president of the United States. She keeps going from here.
This is not a political ambition that I have had for myself. With the obstacles that are in place and the challenges that exist, it is because of the people that you're talking about, people whose lives are being impacted, that make me work tirelessly to run for president to bring about this change. We're not naive to the challenges that lay before us, or the obstacles that are placed ahead of us, or the smear tactics that are used against us. Yes, it's coming from within our own party. The most attacks I get are not from Republicans. They're from Democrats. They're from people in the mainstream media. They are from people in the foreign policy establishment that you're talking about, people who represent the interests of the military-industrial complex. But you know what? You know what? The answer to how we overcome this, it's us. It's we the people. The stronger they come, the stronger we respond. And you know what? We don't respond. We don't respond to their dirty tactics or their hate with more hate. We respond with strength and love and our message of peace and humanity. We cannot lose faith in the power that we hold within our own hands, our own feet, our own voices, and our hearts. It is only when we reclaim our own voices and our own power in dictating the change in this country that we need to make that we can be successful. People will get into a lot of conversations about political tactics and how do we win this race and who's going to beat Donald Trump. Bluntly, I might get in trouble for saying this, what does it matter if we beat Donald Trump if we end up with someone who will perpetuate the very same crony capitalist policies, corporate policies, and waging more of these costly wars?
That's honest. Yes, thank you. That's honest. What's the point in beating Donald Trump if you end up with somebody who's essentially going to perpetuate the same system? Thank you. Yes. Someone says it. Someone is honest enough to actually say it aloud. And not just someone like me who's saying it aloud, of saying, look, if you're in a situation where you're always threatened to do something, then you can always be threatened to do something. This is kind of the hostage crisis thing. It's the reason why the United States, it doesn't negotiate with hostage situations, because you can always be put into a hostage situation. I make this point of saying that many elements of the lefties, you could say labor, blacks, Hispanics, are put into this hostage situation where the Democratic Party is always saying, vote for us, or you're going to get those other guys, and those guys are maniacs. So what are you going to do? Vote for us and let us do this corporate stuff, or vote for those guys who are maniacs. I mean, ultimately, you have this party that was supposed to represent the 99% being captured by corporate interests. And you can always be threatened by the maniacs in the other party. You only have a two-party system. Not supposed to be that, well, it doesn't have to be that way, but that's the system that you got. I think I've said this before. My wife and I, we have these things, we call them coupons. And the point of the coupon is essentially, if, let's say, there's some inequity, maybe she needs to borrow something, but it's not a money thing. Maybe like, just think of it as, for increment of time, the person gets what they want. So if it's 2 a.m, I can say, hey, can you go fix me a sandwich? I'm going to use my 10-minute coupon for you to fix me the sandwich. That type of stuff. And we were playing around one day, and it was kind of like, I was like, look, I have a 10-minute coupon. Now, either you do this, or I'm going to use my coupon. Now, understand what this means, though. This means that you're essentially getting the person to do something without actually using the device, because you're always threatening to use the device. Which she immediately is like, no, fuck that. You're just going to have to use the coupon. She understood the hostage situation that is taking place. This is, her making this point that what is the point of putting in another hack if you're going to continue the exact same policies? What's the point of beating Donald Trump if the person who you put in office is effectively going to be the same person, minus a few bells and whistles? Yes. 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 And if this video was taken down, this probably is why I was taken down.
This is why I'm running for president. This is not a joke. This is not for fun. This is not about me. It's about all of us. It's about our future. Making sure that we have one. I ask for all of your support. I ask you to stand shoulder to shoulder with me in this movement for peace abroad, peace at home, so that we can fight for that path towards a bright future with opportunity and justice, equality, and respect for all. Thank you so much for...
I am one of those people that like Tulsi. I like this message. I think it hits at something that I think the American public is sick of war. But I also think the American public can be roused to war just with being threatened. Hey, there's a terrorist over there. Here's $1 trillion. Go get him. By the same token, if you had somebody who was stridently against that and made that argument, an argument that doesn't really get made in mainstream media. This is an odd argument for mainstream media. And you can hear it when she gets in these conversations, either on Fox News or CNN, when they get into the military type arguments and foreign policy arguments. Tulsi Gabbard, I like this video. And like I said, the biggest thing against her was, what burns in her in this case. In this case, she at the very least realizes, these people are trying to cheat me or or trying to hit me in the knees, people from my own party. But it's a primary, so fair enough. But she also acknowledges something just very basic and honest. If you're continuing with a status quo candidate, what's the point? I mean, ultimately, Donald Trump got in that office. And yes, there's a difference. Don't get me wrong. But ultimately, the difference is an extension of the previous president. Ultimately, the status quo, for the most part, has perpetuated itself. So I agree with her on this. My basic point early on was, it's not one or the other, it's both. I haven't wavered on that at all. Nor have I wavered on this thought of what she just articulated. What is the point of putting somebody in if it's just going to perpetuate the system as is? Time for things to change. So I'll end this here. This is kind of just an breaking in on a Saturday morning. And wow, there are people here. I had no idea there'll be people here. Mr. Broken as she is too soft about what the Democrats are doing. Well, I don't think she can say anything about what the Democrats are doing, if that makes sense. And I'll come back to it. Cool Blue. Bernie and Tulsi are the only two 2020 Democratic candidates who can unseat Trump. Before Republicans can attack them, corporate Democrats step up. Why? Fear of both. I think Tulsi is big for us. I don't know how big she is for the American public, which is kind of why I want her on the debate stage, because at the very least I want that point of view articulated and potentially, something can become of it. For the other part, she's too soft about what Democrats are doing. I don't think she could say anything about what Democrats are doing. Like, that speech right here was probably the extent of what she could ever say. Like, if they have a non-compete agreement, say for instance, if they're going to run into the Democratic primary and maybe they had to sign something saying, we won't attack one another. In the same way, they probably signed something saying, whoever wins, we'll support. If that's true, then she can't really come on and say, these Democrats are attacking me and smearing me by, she can't say that. She can't say it. And there are attacks within her own party. Media in the political space is just another part of the political space, if that makes sense. Like, it's not something that's above it reporting on it. It's a factor in the game. It's not something that's separate from the game. Politicians have their sources that they feed stories to in order to get them to put out stories against their opponents, and vice versa. So, but I like this, and I'm going to end this here because I don't want this one to be long. All right, guys. They're not going to honor it if she wins. I don't know if they're going to have a choice. Oh, well, maybe, honestly, maybe you're right. I mean, her foreign policy stuff is extreme from their perspective. So I don't know. I mean, look at what they've been doing to Trump. Look at what they've been doing to Trump. Oh God, don't say that, Luca. Don't say that. Democratic Party cheats Biden. Sanders again. Sanders endorses Biden. I think Bob Ramirez kept saying he supports his Kamala Harris. Don't say that. Oh God, man, I would cry. Anna Maxa, thank you, Anna Maxa. I told Bob, I will come on camera and I would just weep for 10 minutes. For 10 minutes. You can take all your camera shots and everything else. It was like, oh my God, progressive soapboxes cry for 10 minutes on camera. That's what would happen. It would have that image in the background. All right, I'm going to end this. Thanks all. He's going to bring a Kleenex. All right, guys. If you enjoy the content and you find yourself coming back here often, please consider supporting this content through PayPal or Patreon. As my wife likes to say, even $1 helps. So, thanks all. I'll see you guys in a few. Yeah.